and welcome. You guys, I'm super excited today because today I get to share, this whole podcast, the whole episode with one of my great friends. He is Tony Robbins, #1 peak performance strategist. He travels all around the US helping companies, helping put out that good word of allowing people to stay in a beautiful state. And the one thing that Tony always says is suffering is living in any state that is not beautiful. And I'm telling you right now that this beautiful gentleman that you guys are about to listen to is the epitome of that. He is the man that literally speaks to beautiful state. So without further ado, Mr. Brian, thank you for being here, brother.
Look at the energy that this man is bringing. I can't wait. That's what I'm talking about. Eric, I appreciate you, and I'm fired up to share everything that I know with your audience. And you said it best, brother. It's living in a beautiful state in times of uncertainty and doubt. And what better timing for this podcast? I don't know when you're going to release this, but right now we're in like the middle of this coronavirus thing happening in the United States. And it's like, there's so much, and it might sound counterintuitive to some people on this call, but there's so much opportunity for us to lead and to create and to get to the next level. And so if there's anything that I can express on this call is how fired up I am to be connected with you and how fired up I am to transfer that energy for everyone who's listening to get their life to the next level, no matter what that means for them. So appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, Brian. So, I'm super excited too, and it's fascinating. Like, it's this talk, like literally talking about decisions and like, how decisions. So this topic in my brain has come up a lot this past week, from people, in my community, clients, people that, have been seeking out support. And, one thing that I always talk about is I always share, what Tony's teaching is our decisions versus the conditions.
Yes.
So, perhaps you can elaborate a little bit on what that is and how important it is, especially in times of uncertainty like this one.
Oh, brother, it's everything. Like Tony says, it's in the moments of decisions that our destiny is shaped. And you're right. Like there's all these different life conditions, right? Like we can't always control what's going to happen in life. I'm sure a lot of us on this call have probably tried, right? You try to control how someone else acts, or you try to control what's happening in the economy, or you want to control that you want to kill this virus. And there's so many things that are without our control. Like we can't control everything that's happening around us. The one thing that we can control, Eric, and you know this better than anyone, is the decisions that we make every single day. The decision to wake up on time, the decision to say yes, the decision to say I do, the decision to say I quit, the decision to say I'm going to choose to live in a beautiful state. And those decisions that we make truly shape our life. The quality of life we live day to day, how big of an impact we get to make, and ultimately who we want to become and what we want to give to this planet. And until a decision's made, let's be honest with ourselves, it's just a thought or a wish. If we could walk through this planet and think our way into things, a lot more people would have what they want. But it's not the thought that gets us anywhere, it's the decision. And a decision isn't truly solidified or made until there's an action being taken. And so on this call, if I could stress anything, I'm so glad you brought me on decision day, brother, because this is the most important day and moment of our life is the next decision that we make. So with that being said, man, I can't wait to kick it off and stress to your viewers, and even a reminder to us on this call right now, is that every moment we have the choice to how to feel a certain way, the choice to make the next action that we want to take. And we're like the creature on planet Earth that gets to choose how we want to feel. We can consciously choose how we want to feel. Now, the conditions in life may be crappy, crummy, shitty, whatever it is, but we have the choice to choose what we want that vision to look like, what we want that frame to look like. And so I'm fired up, bro. Let's do it.
Bro, you know what? It's so fascinating. And when you talk about, choosing and making a decision and how we have choices, it's like, I get it. Those thoughts that come into our brain, we actually have a conscious decision of how that's going to make us feel. We get to choose what that thought comes in and what emotion is going to be generated and how we're going to act upon it. Right. So, I guess we should talk about the decision of fear. right? The
Yes.
decision of leaning into fear or leaning
Yes.
away from it, because we both know that there's two types of people in this world: the people that retract, right? Or
Yes.
the people that retract, or the people that lean in, right? The people that
Yes.
lean in are the ones that are going to do amazing things. So maybe you can touch point on like how right now in this time of fear and uncertainty, decision is so freaking important.
Yeah, heck yeah. Well, it just reminds me of like that story of Oprah, right? Like Oprah, you know, she was treated terrible as a kid and grew up in the worst environments ever. And here she is at the time, a Black woman who is trying to find her way into like being a broadcaster and being in the world and being in front of people, and she's getting turned down, overturned down, overturned down, overturned down. And I'm sure that the fear that she had going through all that rejection and the fear of not being able to survive or living out of her cards is like that fear is there, and it's in all of us. So the worst mistake that I see people trying to make is trying to like resist the fear or pretending that it doesn't exist. Like we all have the fear that we're not enough, the fear that we're going to be able to provide for our kids, the fear that we're going to be loved, that we're not going to be loved. We have all of the fears. And it's a human natural thing to be fearful at times. And the point that you're trying to make, and the point that I want to emphasize that you already made, it's like, what do you do with the fear? Do you let fear control you, or do you lean into it and use the fear? Use the fear to propel you forward. Like Oprah could have said, you know what? I'm afraid to go in and ask to be on TV again the 40th, 50th time. Or she could say, I'm afraid of not becoming everything that I'm capable of becoming in this moment. It's like what we associate the fear to, right? Like, for example, if someone is on this call and they're like, oh my God, I'm so fearful that I'm not going to have a job next week, next month, or next year, or my business is going to go by the wayside this month, next year. If you continue to focus on what you're not going to get and live in that fear and let the fear control you, of course you're going to get more of what you're looking for. But if someone says, you know what, I'm afraid not to give, to be, to do, to cherish, to love, to create everything that I'm capable of being, then you're going to start to look for, cherish, love, create, because that's the fear that that's what you're focused on. So how do you use it as a driving force?
I love it. And I think that I really want to touch on some of maybe your experiences in your own personal life, you know, that you've had to go through to really create that resilience in your own, you know, depth of experiences. You know, has there been choices or experiences that you've had to really push through when there was times that you thought that you're back against the wall, you were uncertain, you had no idea what was going to happen, but you did it anyways. You believed. You had that 5-letter word that Tony teaches us, faith, you know,
Yeah.
and we consistently leaned into it, right? So tell
100%.
me, I'm seriously really inspired to let all of our listeners really know, you know, some of your experiences personally.
Yeah, well, dude, I wish that I got that whole action taking piece, that whole decision piece earlier in my life. I'll just give you where I started. You know, like 6 years ago, I was a school teacher, and I was a junior high school PE teacher. So if you're not from the United States, a gym teacher, if you're in Australia or wherever you're from, it's literally I was wearing shorts every day and I was rolling out a basketball, and that was my life. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I love teachers; they're amazing. The problem though is I knew in my heart and my soul that this was not the impact that I was meant to give on this planet. And I stayed in that career, Eric, for 4 effing years, man. 4 years.
Okay, you can say fuck. I don't care. It's okay.
Oh, yeah, 4 fucking years of this internal torment, this internal like brain game, right? Like, it's like I was trying to see what's out there in the world without experiencing anything in the world. So I was like, I had all these fears and doubts of I'm too young. No one in my family's been in business before. How could I ever quit teaching? It's the safe route to go. And everyone tells me to save up for retirement. And literally I'm going to my parents. I'm going to everyone I know looking for answers. And I'm looking for external validation of the choice that I know in my heart that I need to make. And for 4 years, I went through the torment. The torment of like, what would happen if I quit my job? And I played all these psychological games in my head and I made no decision whatsoever. It's like, if I want to cross through the forest in the middle of the night and I have a lantern, the only way for me to see what's going to be 20 feet in front of me is to take the first step. make that decision to walk into the darkness, step into the fear, like you're saying. And for 4 years, I didn't step. For 4 years, I just thought and wished and hoped and prayed and thinking all over myself. You know, I could ask any of your viewers right now, have you ever thought all over yourself and then took no steps forward? It's like that hamster in the hamster wheel. That was me. And I know if you're on this call, you've had those moments in your life where it took way too long to make the decision. Now, thank God for going through some tough times in my life. You know, I've gone through a couple of tough times where, you know, I was partying too much in my life and spending all my money and getting into trouble. And I'll let your viewers think about what that could mean, and doing things that I probably shouldn't have been doing. And thank God for best friends, bro. Thank God for people like you on this call. It's like, my best friend is a guy named Chandler Parag, and for 6 years tried to introduce me to Tony Robbins. He tried to get me to think differently and believe in myself and make the decisions, and I resisted it. I resisted the decision. I resisted taking those steps in my life, and I finally hit rock bottom to this point where I thought I was going to lose my teaching credential because I got in some trouble by partying and doing stuff that I wasn't supposed to. So I thought I was going to lose my job. So it forced me to get out of teaching, even though I wasn't necessarily quote unquote ready. Right? So it forced me to look for different opportunities, and thank God for best friends. You know, he nipped it right in the bud. He's like, dude, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing, man? Like, for 4 years, you said you want an impact. You said you want to make more money. You want to provide for your future family, and you're not doing anything about it. Wake up. He uses the words. He said, what the fuck are you doing? Get your head out of your ass. Like, you're acting like a shithead. Go do something. If I'm being honest with you, Eric, I didn't read this with like butterflies and roses, right?
Yeah.
I almost punched him that day. Like, we almost got into physical altercation. And what happened was he came to visit me. I was living in Newport Beach, California, and he came to visit me for a weekend. We go party on Friday night. We go party on Saturday night. And he's like, you know, I was observing you and watching your old friends. Eric, what is the standard question people ask you if they haven't seen you in a while?
How you doing?
How are you doing? What's the standard answer for most people?
I'm okay. I'm good.
I'm okay. I'm good. You? Right? And that was
oh, sorry. Yeah.
That was my standard answer.
Yeah,
and he's like, Brian, you're not doing good. You're not doing fine. You're not a good, fine, or an okay guy. Wake up. The results that you're getting in life are pathetic for you.
Yeah.
Now, talk about being pissed off or inspired or whatever you want to call it, but something rose up in me that day. And I finally, like 5 days later, my ego dropped. I give him a call. That's how I ended up seeing Tony Robbins. And seeing Tony Robbins completely shifted the way that I look at life. I decided in that moment, the first day I was with him at that seminar, that I was teaching, I was going to go develop my things on my own. And fast forward 2 years, now I'm his #1 peak performance strategist. I travel around the country full time and doing these things, but none of that happens. None of it happens until you make the effing decision.
Yep.
Like, I was going through 4 years of torment, and it took one moment. It took a moment of saying, yes, I believe in myself. It took a moment of saying, me, I quit, to completely shape my life. So I went into, you know, different things up until I got the Tony Robbins role, but it all started, that my life changed as soon as I made that decision. And I know that you on this call have made those same decisions in your life. And if we ourselves today, if we could partner together, me and you, and just change someone's life who's listening to this call, and like someone who's on that edge for making that decision, just fucking do it, man. Just, you're not going to fail. And if you do, you're going to learn, you're going to get up, and it's going to happen, but nothing's going to happen by thinking your way through this thing.
Yep.
It's going to happen by doing. You know in your heart, if you're listening to this call, you know if you're listening, what the decision you need to make is. And until you do it, nothing changes. So with all the love and care in the world, I can't stress it enough, what it's done for my life and what it can do for all of your viewers, man.
You know, I think the cool thing is too, it's like, you know, people all of a sudden think of things like this. Okay, what if I did this, or what if I did that? And they only think that way if they all of a sudden are like faced with some sort of, you know, certain death.
Yeah.
So if they knew that they were going to die at the end of this week, right? How would somebody act? So, and it's not like, I'm not trying to be like, but like, you know, negative, because that's not the point. The point is, okay, how many of us would really start doing the shit that we wanted to if we knew that we were going to die at the end of the week?
Yeah.
Right?
It's
And
amazing.
so it blows my mind, because really tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Not at all. Not even for a second,
right? So I always get fascinated with things like this, and how experiences like this, we make our decisions when our backs are against the wall, when we're like, enough is enough suffering, enough pain, enough torture to ourselves. Now it's time to step forward, right? And Tony talks about that all the time, right? He's like, how much shit are you gonna go through to finally make it change? Right?
Yes.
And sometimes that's the pain that they need to go through to get to where they really deserve to.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that for a second, because you're hitting off so many light bulbs. I love these conversations with you, because I know it comes out. It's like Tony talks about, it's like in the moments of decisions, destiny is shaped, and people make a decision when their back's against the wall or when they have to. Well, you may be asking this question, like, if you're anything like me, you're on this call, like, Brian, I don't want to have to go through a bunch of shit in my life, or I've been wanting to make a decision, but how do you get yourself to actually do it? Like, how do you get yourself to do it? And here's how. Human beings are doing two things at any given time. They're running towards pleasure or away from pain. Brian, what do you mean by that? Well, I mean this. Every moment of our life is a reward system or a consequence system, right? Like, you have the choice to hit the snooze button in the morning. Why do you not do it? Because there's more reasons why you shouldn't than there are more reasons why you should. So we do this thing called stacking, right? Like, if you're someone stuck in making a decision, you've been in the indecision phase, that incongruency phase, what you stack the emotions, you stack the pain, or you stack the pleasure. See, some people move farther to pleasure and some people move farther away from pain. It depends on where you're at. I'll give you an example, just this snooze button analogy, right? Everyone in this call, everyone heard this right now, has at one point in their life hit the snooze button. They've hit the snooze button on life, but more importantly in the morning, right? Every morning you have the opportunity. Am I going to wake up right now, or am I going to wait 20, 30, 40 minutes? Here's the choice that you're making in a pleasure, pain, reward system, right? When that alarm goes off, your brain starts to race with ideas, right? It's got all these things, and some people are still in that negotiation phase. They're like, should I wake up right now? Why do I need to? What would it, man, it's so painful to just like get up and just, right? So in their head, they're stacking all the reasons why they can't. Do you feel what I'm saying? And then there's other people who are like, man, that alarm's going off. I have so many things that I can do today. I'm inspired. I can go get on a podcast with Eric or Brian. I can go make that phone call. I can start that business. I can say I do. I can go talk to that girl I've always wanted to talk to. I can create, be, do, give. So you have that opportunity in your head to play that game with yourself. And all it is a stacking, all right? In these decisions where you're uncertain of what you want to do, well, your heart knows. You know what the powerful, the strong decision is. You got to ask yourself the question, like Eric said, are you making this decision out of fear, or are you making this decision out of what you want to create, out of power? And if you can use that fear, you just stack it, right? Like, if that morning ritual is like, I hit the snooze button every day. Well, you want to start by triggering yourself, convincing yourself that what are the reasons that I can give myself today that would make me want to get up right now? And you keep stacking those reasons, all those things that you're grateful for, all the reasons why you should go up, and all the things that wouldn't happen if you just stayed in bed. So if there's anything I can give these groups, is just when you're in those moments of decision, stack the pain or stack the pleasure, and eventually that teeter-totter is going to go one way. And the heart knows what it wants. The heart knows what it desires. And if you can just stack it and play that game and win that game, the more you do it, the better that muscle is going to get. The more you make those strong decisions in your life, the easier it becomes. That's why the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. And I'm not 100%. Talking about just money. I'm talking about spiritually. I'm talking about emotionally. I'm talking about relationship. The people who make decisions and train that muscle for themselves that says, I do, I will, no matter what, are the go-getters in life.
And I think it's important too, like that we're both here completely compassionate to like people that are going through some sort of uncertainty and fear. And I want everyone to really recognize that too, because it's really important that you guys understand that we're super compassionate to people, that are worried and freaking out, but you can't indulge in that type of behavior. You cannot indulge in that type of behavior. So maybe you can, maybe, Brian, you can touch on ways that, when they recognize a certain emotion and it's really taking them back into that fear or that uncertainty, and they're getting worried about it, ways that they can really push themselves past it and make a decision to do things that are going to allow them to build some sort of energy. Because, for example, for me in the morning, sometimes in the past, I was like, oh my God, I want to go work out, but I'm tired, and relating to the snooze button, but making the choice to like, no, I recognize that thought. Like for me, the funny thing is like I'll be like, my ego's like wants to sleep, and I'll be like, okay, ego, you will sleep. I'm gonna let you sleep. I'll tuck you into bed, and I'm gonna go work out.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. It's just whatever game you got to play, right? And let's call a spade a spade. Like, there are people going through a crazy rough time right now, and if there's probably someone on your podcast and someone who's listening to this, who's gone through hell and back, or is in the middle of those hell moments and just can't seem to claw their way out. So there's no part of my fiber and part of my body that doesn't empathize and understand that. And people are going through different aspects of life. And I don't for a second try and take on their pain and say that it's easy to make decisions. What Eric and I are saying right now is that if you live there, if you live in the misery, the doubt, the fear, the indecision, it's going to cause more pain and more suffering. And so it's okay to feel those moments. It's just not okay to make that your living, your lifestyle. And, Eric, this just reminds me, it's like we have we have 3 decisions that we can make at any given time. What we're going to focus on, what it means, and what the hell are we going to do about it, right? And shitty moments are going to happen in our life. It shouldn't turn into shitty days, months, and years, right? And by this, what I mean by this, Eric, is like, at any given time, the conditions can happen, right? Like someone could pass away, someone could get fired, someone could lose their job, someone could lose their clients, and then that's the outside world stimulating them, right? That's a condition. So then we have the choice as human beings to say, well, what are we going to focus on? Are we going to focus on how terrible this is? Or are we going to focus on the gift that it's been given in my life? Because I'm sure if you're on this call, some of those toughest times in your life led to some of the most beautiful moments in your life, didn't they? So you have the choice to choose. You can choose what you're going to focus on. How am I going to make beauty in my life? Or am I going to let this cause more pain? So the first thing is recognizing that pattern, right, Eric? I think that's what you're getting at, is like recognize that thought pattern, recognize that loop that's a doubt loop or a fear loop, one of those. To recognize a pattern, you just try and take a step back. Say, who is the person that recognizes that pattern? I'm not the pattern. I'm not this existence. I'm simply observing what's happening in my life, observing those thoughts, observing those moments. And when something happens, an outside stimulus, how can I slow down this moment and say, this is happening. I'm not trying to deny it. And this might feel shitty, sad, happy, whatever that emotion that it causes. And then you got to say, what am I going to focus on? Am I going to continue to focus on what this is doing to me? Or how am I going to use this to impact more people in a positive way? And it starts with the questions that we ask ourselves. So questions lead us to focus, right? Any question that you ask yourself is going to bring focus on it. So that's number 1. Second is, what does it mean? Is this happening to me or for me? Those are the best 2 questions you could ever ask yourself at any moment. Is this happening to me or is it happening for me? And if you start to stack, is this happening for me? How can I use this? And you start to build momentum that way, you'll start to recognize those patterns in our life. And then the third question you want to ask yourself is, what the hell are you going to do about it? Because you can sit there and think, but until you do, it's just going to cause that torment in our head. So if say anything from that moment, it's just to slow those moments down in your life. What does this mean? What am I going to focus on? And then what am I going to do about it? Those are the 3 questions.
I love it. I think that's so important. I think so many people will take away from that and really use it, to their advantage, especially right now. So, a lot of the times, I'm really curious right now, with that whole focus, I find that it's kind of a blessing with everything that's going on. People get to focus from within, right? And, making decisions is a part of that. And, mental health and really, focusing on that resilience, like those are all components, right?
Yes.
Healthy mind, healthy body, healthy spirit, and there's a lot of business owners that listen to the podcast. And a lot of them are coaches, a lot of them are there's some uncertainty, and a lot of their ways to go out there and make a decision to still be business owners, to still sell, to still influence, to still be passionate about what they're doing. So perhaps and I've also felt like some there's uncertainty around, oh, do I still go and push in this time of need, in this time of of circumstance? Do I go out there and do I push my business? Do I still show up? Do I still go look out for new leads? Do I do things like this? And I'd love instead, because I know, but I think that what I think that you're gonna say, as I agree with, I'm gonna agree with, but I want everyone to hear what you have to say, because it's really important that everyone is super clear on the knowledge that you give, because this is so freaking important, especially in times of like recession, I guess.
Yeah, certainly, man. And I would just say this, like if you're a business owner and you're thinking about what the hell am I going to do during this time, right? There's no doubt in anyone's mind that we're going through unprecedented times. Like we're facing something that we've never experienced before, at least in our lifetimes, with the coronavirus and what's happening in the economy and basically the world shutting down. And the question is, like, what choice really do you have? Like, whether you step up in your business right now or you quit your business, you're still going to have to go through this coronavirus. You're still going to have to go through this like shutdown that we're going through right now. So the question becomes is like, okay, well, do I want to let this coronavirus control me, or do I want to use this to my advantage? Because Eric, I know you and I know myself and Tony in the world that we've surrounded ourselves with. It's like, this is the best time to be alive. Like I can't say that I'm enjoying that there are people suffering and sick and these types of things. It's god awful. But what I would say is this is the best time to be alive, because right now everyone is running left and leaders step up and run right. They show people what's possible. And right now is the time to double down on your business, because when the dust settles, and it always does, life runs on cycles, the economy will bounce back and we can live in a different state. Who's going to be ahead? Who's going to be the person making the biggest impact in the world? And it's not going to be the people who sit down on their hands and hope and wish and pray. It's going to be the people who say, you know what? While the world is uncertain, I need to find the certainty within myself, and the certainty in my mission, the certainty in my passion to create more, to add more value right now. Now is the time to double down. Now is the time to step up and do more, because whether it's a year or 2 years or 5 years, eventually it's going to slow down. Eventually this is going to subside. And then who's still standing? It's not going to be the people who hope and wait. It's going to be the people who continue to attack and continue to move forward. So if there's anything I can say right now, it's just like, if you notice that the movement is starting to go towards fear, doubt, negativity, people are looking for answers right now. They're waking up, and the first thing they're doing is opening up their phone on social media, and they're seeing people post about the virus and about the economy and what's happening in the world. And then they turn on their TV, and it's more information about the coronavirus and what's happening in the world, and the economy's going down. And then they go call a friend, and it's more conversations about everything that's happening in the world. And if you notice that the overall psychology of most people is looking for answers, and they're uncertain, that's why they're asking all these questions. That's why they're looking for more certainty. And if we as business owners can provide them that certainty, be there in their times of need, they're going to see us as a leader in this environment. And then when the dust does settle, holy smokes, how far you're going to be ahead. I mean, Tony has built his entire career off of winters like this, off of times like this, off of down periods. And so this is the time to be a business owner. It may be tough, but this is the time to continue to attack.
Double down, double down, double down. And I love it. Tony's been around, for 40 years, doing some amazing things, changing people's lives. And he's been through so many different winters, right?
Yeah.
And it's so funny when we're at Business Mastery, literally last year, and Tony's like, winter is coming. Like, winter is coming, guys. Get prepared, work hard, double down, because we are gladiators. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? So it's so important. And yesterday I was funny because I was talking about, being on court, and I had this shirt on and I was talking about like being on court, like playing on the court, because, and it's so important to be focusing and being on the court right now, playing, being in the arena, talking about being on the court. And when you're on the court, when you're spending time on court, and there's people and you're bouncing the balls back and you're not fighting, but you're playing and making sure things are happening. You can't take any of that judgment or experience from people off the court. Right? People off the court, they're walking by, they're watching you, they'll tell you how to play, they'll do everything, but they don't have any of that, experience. The players that are next to you, practicing and playing too, those are the ones that you got to be listening to. Those are the ones that we want to learn from. Those are the ones, maybe the umpire, the coach, or something like that, right? And so I was saying yesterday, let's all get on the court, because right now, if you're on the court, you can become your industry's next top trusted advisor.
Yeah. 100%, brother. I couldn't agree with you more.
I think
I'm seeing you live it every day. I'm seeing you be congruent in that every single day. The energy that you're bringing, the people that you're connecting with, the way that you're reaching, the way that you're leading and showing people what's possible, you're doing it every single day.
Bro, it's honestly, it's a gift that Tony has given you, given me, given so many of us, and we need to consistently bring that light, right? We need to consistently show up in this world. We need to consistently, constantly and never approve, do the can I, right? And I'm forever grateful, right? Forever grateful. So I think it's important that we, as people that want to contribute, that want to continue to grow, like literally align ourselves with that, no matter the condition. So that's why I love having beautiful, amazing individuals like yourself on the show, teaching, about the resilience of what's possible. And, your why. And I always tell everybody, turning their X factor, right? Their experience into their why, right? So I guess what I'd love to know, and I'm certain that so many people on here would love to know, is really what's that why that every day is driving Brian? That every day when you wake up, you're like, I don't care what happens, I'm out there and I'm going for it no matter what.
Yeah. The question that I ask myself is how can I do, give, love more to help impact other people's life? It's like, how can I inspire and lead others to reach their peak potential by being personal, driven, passionate, truthful, funny, kind, light, relentless? That's literally on my board every single day. And it's like, if I can be of service to other people every freaking moment of my life, every day of my life is not just going to be about success. It's going to be about the fulfillment piece. Because the truth is like guys like us, Eric, I mean, we're going to find success in every moment. We're going to find a way to succeed. We're going to find a way to make the money and the things that we want in life. But the truth is like, how do we get through to every single human being on planet Earth to help them develop, create, so that the next generation, like, I'm not one of those guys that needs to have, like when I die on this planet, everyone needs to name. What's more important to me is like, what is the mindset that I help deliver? What is like that level of just consciousness that I was able to pass along? Because my name, it doesn't matter how great you were, eventually your name fades. But the concepts that you were able to teach, that's a trickle-down effect. It's like a domino effect. If I can just impact a few people's life and get them to think differently and think about opportunity and creation, like the consciousness level in the world will change, and then their kids' kids and their kids, it's like human beings will advance and grow and create bigger than we ever meant to be. I'm not sure what the purpose is for every human being on planet Earth. And I kind of go back and forth about what it could be. But what I know is this, like, we are designed to help more people. And life supports that which supports my life. And if I can help create more and beautiful human beings on this planet, whatever this end game is, if there even is an end game, at least I help people live this experience to the best of their ability to create. So that's my mission, brothers, to inspire and lead others to reach their peak potential in their relationships, in their spirituality, in their health, in their passions, in their work, everything.
I love it, man. I love it. And you know, I think that even that experience is like, so what has, you know, and obviously, like, it's so amazing every time we talk, like, we feel each other's energy. We're just like, rah! People honestly are probably listening right now saying, holy shit, these guys would be amazing, like, to just hang out with, right?
Great hype man. Yeah, just great hype man.
Yeah, you know, so to me, and you know, you guys had to postpone one of the San Jose events, the UPW event.
Yep.
And how was that, you know, and that was like a company-wide, like, resilient, let's make something happen, this is going to be okay. You know, that was like a full-on, you know, how many people? 18,000 people? We're going to go?
They're planning to be 13,000 at that one.
Oh, 13,000. Okay, yeah. And that's like 13,000 people, right? And it was like, you know, it was like a no-brainer. Everybody was like calm, collected. The connection was really good with everybody. You know, Tony, first time after 4 years, had to, you know, like, really, you know, cancel event forcefully. You know, he didn't, because I know he didn't want to. Now, but you see how, like, as an organization, how you guys were able to, like, just overcome so many different, and everybody was congruent. So when it comes to organizations, bigger, smaller, it doesn't matter. How can they lay a culture, a foundation, especially right now in times like this, to really establish a way of having that congruency and that alignment, just like, you know, the organization, like for Tony, how you're working with in this side of it.
I wish it was a complicated answer so I can go on for a long time, but it's really simple. It's being mission driven first. Like, the truth is like, whenever someone falters or whenever someone has a bad experience, is because they're putting their own needs above the customer or client or someone else's needs. And when we think about ourselves in any situation, it causes this disconnect in energy, right? Like, when I'm on this call right now, Eric, it's like, I'm not thinking about how I can make myself look good. I'm thinking about how can I deliver for anyone who's on the other side of this listening to it and to you, right? And when I'm outside of my own head, and I'm in my heart thinking about, from their point of view, what is it that they would be receiving? And I have good intention, and I'm thinking about the mission, about what could happen in their life. You can have different people from all different walks of life, but there's going to be this steady heart, steady, like, everyone moving in a congruent way throughout the organization, because we're not focused on our needs. We're focused on how we can support them. And the best way that we can support them is to get them to go see Tony Robbins, to transform their life. It's not going to happen by them going back and sitting back on their couch and refunding or saying, I'm not going to go now because of life's conditions, right? That's letting the external world dictate their internal world and their decisions. What we want to do is help them make those powerful decisions to stick to their convictions. I mean, I'll give you an example because I think it's relevant.
Yeah,
you know,
please.
For the leaders that are on this call, it's like, when you think about leading your organization, I'll give you an example of Tony. You said it best, Eric. Is like, Tony hasn't canceled an event in 40 years. And earlier in his heyday, he was doing like 100, 200 events a year. I mean, now he's cut it down significantly. He's done like maybe 12 a year. And the reason I say that is this. There's this one time where he had to go give he was giving a seminar in Canada. And for whatever reason, the event was canceled or something happened where they said, like, hey, you can't be in this arena right now. We got to shut it down. So what did Tony do? Fucker is keeping his result, the mission head first, right? He's not thinking about, oh, we can cut it short. I got paid and everyone's happy, Dunky Dora. We did like half the event. Everything's okay. No, it's the end result. How can you transform everyone's life here? So what did he do? He got tour buses. He rented buses. He found a way to get resourceful. He rented buses and put all these people into buses. And then he would go bus to bus, giving different seminars, going one after the other, and then having them work on something. Then he would go to the next bus, give a seminar, have them work on something, go to the next bus. And he found a way out of no way right? And the point that I'm trying to make here is like Tony, this event happened where he's forced to cancel it. He didn't cancel it. He's rescheduling it. That mother effer is not going to give up on the result. And so when you think about the different leaders that might be listening to this call, it's like when you're willing to do what other people aren't willing to do, and you're able to lead with your actions and your decisions, it gives people a higher standard to live up to. And if they're going to be a part of your organization, they better damn well try to live up to that standard. And if anyone's a standard to live up after, it's Tony Robbins. Like, he's going to find a way out of no way. So the people who work with company and work with Tony and are partnered with us, he's like, that's just the standard we live by. The result comes first, right? The result comes first. Like, what is it that you want? Why are you doing it? And the how will always show up. Yep. So keeping the result and mission driven first, then everything else will fall into place.
Yep, I love that. I've heard before the what and the when. If you know that, then you'll figure out the how and the who.
Yep.
You know.
Cool.
So and I love that story. I think that they had to go over the border to the U.S. because something to do with immigration. I think it was. Yeah. He was like, let's get resourceful. I love it. That's an amazing. I think that's such a powerful story, man. Like how fascinating the mindset of like, let's get shit done. So, I really want to kind of turn the gears a little bit and just a little bit more to understand, because there's going to be people out there that are dealing with some negative people, perhaps family, perhaps experiences, perhaps situation, right? And they're dealing with some toxicity around them, right?
Yes.
And, sometimes, and myself included, we focus on things that are out of our control, and we expect others to change so that we can feel better, right? And it's like that we have to give somebody a manual so that they can fill everything out properly and act the proper way, so that we can be okay, right? But the truth is that we don't have that capacity. So how do people, that are listening on this podcast or interested in knowing, or maybe they're just, they go through that every day, or maybe they're toxic themselves, can handle, like, how can they handle, people, that are toxic? Because nobody's really intentionally being toxic or negative. They're just portraying that because of their thought. So how can they kind of make a decision to really identify and handle that within themselves, so it doesn't bring them down?
Totally. So if I'm hearing you right, it's like letting other people impact our own energy, right? And it's like, well, the question that I would ask is like, are you going to get rid of negative people on planet Earth? No. Are you sometimes going to be put in situations where you're dealing with toxic people? Yes. So the question isn't, how can I avoid them? The question might be like, how do I find the best strategy to get around more people who are like-minded and who are less toxic? That would be a good question. More importantly, though, it's like, if Tony goes over this as well, it's like, if you got a scab on your arm and someone rubs it, it's going to sting. It's going to hurt. Someone rubs your arm and you don't have any scabs, it's just someone rubbing your arm, right? So it depends. Like, if there's these wounds inside of us, or there's these unanswered questions that we have, or this resistance, or something that might be causing distress inside of ourselves, it's only going to bother us how other people think if we see part of that person within inside of ourselves. And we see part of like those actions. I'll give you an example. Like, if someone cuts you off on the side of the road, right? Like, they cut you off, you're trying to get to work and you're late, and they cut you off and they flip you off and they honk their horn and they do all these things, right? Some people would go through that situation and be like, man, that person must be having a tough day, or maybe someone in that car is pregnant, or maybe they're late and maybe they just need to get to go where they're going faster, and thank God they're ahead of me. Right? That's one way to look at that situation, true? Yep. But someone who's having a shitty morning, who got in an argument with their girlfriend or their husband or their wife, or got yelled at by their boss, and now that's the person driving the car, and they're upset about what happened 20, 30, 40 minutes ago, when they cut off, those feelings are going to pop, right? They're going to feel frustrated, sad, upset, angry at that person driving, but it's nothing to do with that person. It has everything to do with the relationship they have with inside themselves, right? If someone's already off and upset. It just takes a trigger to bring that out of them. Right. So back to your question about like these toxic people, like if someone is the word sort of quote unquote toxic, they're probably not someone that I would choose to interact with frequently. Now, if there's someone who's negative or has those moments from time to time, which boyfriend, girlfriend, son, daughter, husband, wife, we're all going to have them at times, then the best way to deal with it is just to be a support system and ask yourself this question, like, does that energy need to go into me? And do I need to absorb that and question myself? If the answer is no, then just be there as a support system for them. If this is someone who's habitually doing this, I would say do your best not to be around these people, even if it's a family member, right? Like be there as a support system, but don't allow yourself to be dragged into that energy consistently. Like it's okay from moment to moment, but we want to associate with people who are going to build this up to create more, to do more, to be more, to give more. And we don't get what we want in life. We don't get amazing people around us. We don't get amazing opportunities. We don't get to choose all these amazing things in our life. We get what we feel like we deserve. And if someone's hanging around a bunch of toxic people, it's because part of them may be going through their own battle and feel like they don't deserve to be around people who are going to build them up. You feel what I'm saying?
Yep, absolutely.
So I don't know if that was an exact answer to it, but maybe a description.
No, that's even better, bro. I think you nailed it. Like, I think that's even better with the example, because then people can put themselves in that situation. So, one thing I'd love to know, because, you're always on the go, you're always busy, you always got great energy, you're always happy. What does a typical day look like for Brian?
Oh, man. Okay, so I do, here, I'll give you a fill-in. So my number one thing is I'm partnered with Tony Robbins and Transforming Lives. So I go into companies, organizations, sizes, and colors. I basically take a 50-hour Tony Robbins seminar and I condense it as a seminar for these businesses. And then ultimately I create partnerships with those businesses to send their employees and themselves to Tony Robbins events. So another word for that is I give seminars and I sell. So both of those, that's kind of what I do with Tony Robbins. That's what I do. And then I also do sales coaching on the side, and I also do speech coaching. So I have these three aspects of my life. I love getting someone to a yes, brother. Like I am obsessed with how do you get someone to say yes? Not because I'm trying to get them to do something, but how is it that I can get someone to say yes for themselves? To step up and say, I do, I quit, I will, I want to, I'm going to. Like, how do you get someone to that moment? So my day-to-day is I wake up at 5 a.m., I hit the gym. For me, what helped change my life when I was going through my darker phase is changing my habits. And so for me, that morning routine is so crucial. I changed going to the gym at night to going in the morning. So I've like, if I don't go sweat and I don't have an intense workout for the day, I'm like an 80% version of myself. And I don't want to go through life being an 80% version of myself. So waking up in the morning, first thing I do is sweat. Then it's a cold shower. Then it's 10 minutes priming, which is, if you don't know what priming is, it's like this 10-minute meditation, setting up your day. I do a little bit of writing journal, and then I'm on calls, like sales calls all day. I'm on team calls all day, or I'm giving speeches, or I'm on a podcast like this. So that's my day to day. And I'm usually going, 12 to 16 hours a day. I don't say that to impress anyone, just because I don't see it as work. Like, I'm just doing what I love, like every day. So that's my journey day to day. Do I have days where I kind of just take the foot off the gas pedal and go kick it to the beach? You're damn right I do. But I don't live there. I live in like, how can I go serve more people? And I get energy by talking. I get energy by learning about people. I get energy by creating distinctions and helping someone break through. So if I'm not busy, if I'm not doing these things, I'm not my full self. And so for me, that my day-to-days are very different from day to day, depending on what organization I'm going to, who I'm talking to. But yeah.
I love it, man. And I think that, in the show notes, we're going to share that priming exercise, like a link to it. If you want to share one of them to me, or I can share whatever works best. Cool. I think that'd be cool to have one of Tony's priming exercises in the show notes. Yeah. But last thing, and I know you got to go. I know you got things to do, but I want to just share, where can everybody find you if they want to know more about you? We'll make sure we'll put them all into the show notes for those of you guys that are in the car right now listening or whatever. But, just where can they find you? Any websites, social mediums? Please share.
Yeah. So on all my social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, my primary one is Instagram. I've been moving a lot of energy towards that lately. It's just my first and last name, Brian, Brian, and then my last name. So Brian Mayoral, Mayoral. So Brian Mayoral on all my social media. So they can go find me there. The first picture is of me like on stage giving it like a big whoa clap. So you'll know me there. If not, you can go search me in Eric's Friends. You just search Brian Mayoral and I'll be in there. So that's the first medium where everyone can find me. From there, I'm doing different webinars and sales trainings all the time. So if they want to get into some of those with me, they can find me on my social and then ask me about them.
Beautiful, love it. So we'll send all the links at the bottom, and any website or anything that you want them to also know about.
Oh, you know what? I want to give them a gift. I want to give them an 8-week refresher course on behalf of Tony Robbins. So if you come follow me on Instagram, if you either make a post about this and tag me in it, or you shoot me a DM and let me know that you heard us from the Resilience podcast with Eric, and shoot me that DM and I'll shoot you an 8-week Tony Robbins course.
Beautiful. I love that. Amazing.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure I put all the show notes and your links in the show notes so people can just click.
Awesome.
Click.
Click.
Make sure they connect with you. Make sure you can get that 8-week course from Brian. Brian, honestly, grateful to have you. It was amazing to catch up again. That fired up energy, so much value, and I'm certain that everybody here, is going to follow you, feel that energy, and, connect with you so that they can learn more from you, brother. Always, always a blessing.
Awesome. So before we even jump off, I just got to thank you, man. Like your viewers are so lucky to have someone with such a guiding light in their life, and someone who doesn't just talk the talk, but he's walked the walk, and he's created transformation in his life, and comes from a place of service in his heart and transform people's lives. So I'm grateful for you for having us on and creating this platform where we can impact more lives, brother. So thank you.
Blessings, man. Just the beginning for us, bro. Let's rise together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheers.